We have a bit of a tight schedule, lots of information to share with you today, so we're going to go ahead and get started right away. Everybody's showing signs of shock. I recently cut my hair. I had a ponytail, and so looking a little more respectable these days, I guess. I need an earring now, I guess. Anyway, my name is Chip Coker, and I'm the Director of Community Mediation Services. That's a nonprofit that's been here in town for over 30 years now. Our primary purpose is to try to reduce conflict in people's lives and in the community's life, and to promote peaceful relations among us. One of our programs is restorative justice. Many of you in this room may not know what that means. You saw the words on the flyer. Maybe you've done a little bit of research since signing up for this. Others of you in the room know a lot about it, and it's a great thing. You're going to, I believe, after you hear the speakers today, that you are going to become a believer in restorative justice, as I am, and will want to see us try to use it more if we can in our community. We have been doing it as an agency for youth-related crimes under contract with Lane County for the last 20 years to great success. It has reduced recidivism. Repeat offenses by youth who go through our program are much lower than the youth who go through the regular juvenile justice system. And we think that that will be true for adult crime as well. And that's what today is about. We want to have a conversation, or start a conversation in Lane County about possibly seeing where there might be ways that we could incorporate restorative justice processes into our adult criminal system. So, the day is going to be broken into three broad sections. The first section is going to have two parts to it. The first part, you're going to hear about what the criminal justice frame is, or context is, in Lane County right now. What the situation is, what the reality is based on our budget cuts, etc. And the second part will be a primer on restorative justice for those of you who don't know what that is. The second part will be going deeper into it by looking at some actual case studies where restorative justice principles or practices have been used successfully in adult crimes. And then the very final part of the day will be a question and answer period for the panel. After the first part, after you've heard the situation as it is in Lane County and what RJ is all about, we're going to take a short break. And if you all have an index card in front of you, and I'm going to ask you as a group at each table, and perhaps as individuals as well, to come up with some questions that you might like to see addressed during that last Q&A period. A couple little housekeeping things. If you've not been on this floor before of the hotel, the restrooms are out. Is the Chief of Police for the City of Eugene, Pete Kerns.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'd particularly like to thank our speakers who traveled so far to help us understand the restorative justice program and how it might be applied in a place like Lane County. My job, I think, this morning is to explain the predicament that we're in. Over the last 10 or 15 years, as demographics in the United States have changed and approach to policing and corrections has changed, we've seen a reduction in crime in our country. It's been a very positive and steady reduction, very predictable that it'll continue that way. And the state of Oregon has had the same, has enjoyed the same crime trend. Lane County, on the other hand, has been different. Our crime has continued to go up in the last 5 years or so. The exception seems to be in Springfield, but Eugene has seen some increase in crime. We did, over the course of 2009 and 2010, see a little decrease, but recently it's gone down again. And I think I might have an explanation for some of that. Oregon has fewer police per capita than any other state in the United States, and Eugene has fewer police per capita than the average city in Oregon. So we're below the state average of the state that has fewer than any other place in the country, any other state in the country. And our timber revenue, tax revenue that has come from the federal government to support government services in Lane County has declined dramatically over the last 10 years And probably the most significant reductions in services that we've seen in the last 5 years have occurred in 2011 and 2012. So the July 2011, 84 jail beds were closed in the Lane County Jail, and in July of 12, 96 jail beds were closed, 180 jail beds in one brief period. And the last time that happened, in 2008, it was only 84 jail beds. We saw our property crime climb precipitously. We watch it every month. We saw it go up. As soon as the jail beds came back, that increment of offenders, those 84 offenders that we were able to hold in the jail, crime almost immediately came down, property crime. So the capacity in the jail seems to have an effect on crime here, and we don't have good alternatives. With the reductions that the county has seen this last July, it's not only reduced the capacity of the jail, it's also reduced the capacity of the district attorney's office. The Eugene Police Department has taken, the Lane County Sheriff's Office and the Springfield Police Department appear to be taking the same number of felony cases to our prosecutors as we did a year ago. But as of this last July, they're filing 26 fewer of those cases. So they'll have a case for someone who has committed theft that might be a felony, or possession of drugs that would be a felony. They don't even open the file, they don't file it. So there are all those offenders who would otherwise be held accountable, or who might be introduced to drug court or other places, and there's virtually no accountability for those types of crimes. That's 26% fewer than we did on June 30th of this year. When our officers arrest somebody for any of those offenses, we put them in the Lane County Jail for a state offense. The officer frequently leaves after the offender is released, after they finish their bookend process. Otherwise, they're there for perhaps a day and then they're released. So there's virtually no accountability there. And that affects pretty significantly our property crime rate, which is in the 80th percentile for cities our size. It's higher than nearly 80% of the communities in the United States that are the same size as our city here. So that's one predicament we've got. We'd like to find another way of addressing it. Another consistent issue that we deal with here in Eugene is crime in the downtown area. The city is trying to create a vibrant, economically vibrant and vital downtown area, but it feels unsafe. But for a number of reasons, people who commit certain crimes gather in the downtown core, and the openness of crime in the downtown is unlike any other part of our city. It occurs at a higher rate there than any place else. About 4 years ago, a couple of our city councilors introduced an exclusion ordinance to the downtown, so that for certain, mostly felony crimes, but some other minor offenses, a person arrested for that before conviction can be excluded from the downtown core by a municipal court judge. Our attorneys were confident that it would tolerate any constitutional challenge, but it's a very controversial ordinance. Post-conviction exclusions, most people are comfortable with that, but the pre-conviction exclusions, folks are very uncomfortable with it. The City Council has invested heavily in our downtown core. In addition to loans that we've made to small businesses to help with development, they've also added 7 police officers and a sergeant and community service officer to work just in the downtown area, or at least until we can get that under control. You've got a new email. Chip, would you like me to respond? Oh, it's from, never mind. So we'd like to use those police officers as effectively as we possibly can. The City Council extended that ordinance. It has a sunset. The City Council extended that ordinance for at least another year, and I think they're going to be very reluctant to extend it beyond that. And part of their decision was to ask a number of staff, including the police department, to find an alternative to the exclusion ordinance. So the timing of this is impeccable, and I want to thank Chip for bringing it all here. The third area that I hope that we can talk about a little bit today has to do with crime in our West University neighborhood. The University of Oregon has about 24,000 students. That's a number that's gone up steadily for the last 4 or 5 years. And many of them live in the West University neighborhood. West University neighborhood is a defined geographical area that has about 5,000 residents. And over the years, the ratio of students to owner-occupied, the people who live in owner-occupied dwellings, has changed to the point where today only 1% of those 5,000 people that live in that geographical area are owner-occupied residents. The rest are students, and many of those students appear to be intoxicated and behaving badly on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. And we struggle to manage that. And we know that we have a long history of awareness around the realities of not managing that behavior well. When we don't, it erupts into riots. And we're, knock on wood, we haven't had one for about 2 years, am I right? September of 10, I think was the last one. Now, we'd like to never have another one, but we know unless we get this under control, we will. And what we see is that there are houses occupied by students who repeatedly have loud, disorderly parties that require a response from the police department. The ideal for us would be one where we no longer invest $50,000 a year roughly in overtime to police this part of town on 2 or 3 nights a week, and instead use that $50,000 to help reduce crime downtown or help reduce property crime in Eugene in a way that would provide services to the entire community rather than this very small community. University of Oregon contributes massively to our city. We know that we're a better place by having this institution here. We know we're a better place having 25,000 students both from Eugene and elsewhere living and learning here and discovering new elements of their lives. But we also know that this is a massive resource drain on our organization to handle what should be a neighborhood nuisance type of issue. So those are the most significant, in a nutshell, those are the most significant issues that our department is dealing with today. And I know that when times are good, an agency like ours, like a company that owns a certain portion of the market in whatever area that is, we're not going to invent some new and interesting way of solving an age-old problem if we feel we have the resources to resolve it in the same way that we always have. Well, we're no longer, in the new economy, we're not there anymore. I'm interested in finding whatever economically efficient, constitutionally valid method we can to make our community safer. And if expanding how restorative justice is used in Eugene and across Lane County will help, then that would be wonderful. All right, thank you.